ready. This is going to be exciting.
Here we go, restarts up we go. Green flag is out and we're underway.
Just a few laps into this. Oh, the 37's getting loose. Oh, and he saves it. Oh, they're going 3 wide.
We've got a 5-way fight for the win of this race coming to 4 laps to go. He's gonna win it here in spectacular fashion.
Well, good evening, race fans, and welcome to round number 5 of the Lincoln Tech IndyCar Series with Goat Locker Racing here on V-Speed, bringing you all the action live this evening. My name's Daniel Cunningham. Up here in the booth with me tonight, my buddy Ken Huber, Lucas Lyons on production. Ken Huber filling in tonight for the redneck announcer Jake Reeves. Reason why he's not here? He just had a nice addition to the family. Congratulations to Jake Reeves and his wife on the addition of their new bouncing baby redneck boy to the family. And we'll miss you while you're gone, but enjoy that time with the family while you're out. And Ken, thank you for filling in for Jake. I feel like we have the perfect person to fill in, the resident road course expert around here at Goat Locker. How you feeling this evening? You excited for this race? Tell me what your thoughts are as we get ready to get going here this evening.
Man, I feel pretty good. It's kind of nice getting a road course race in. I want to say congratulations to Jake as well. Now, I'm not the redneck. I don't have that redneck voice that he's got, but he's got that brand new baby. I'm sure he's very excited. So, but I'm a West Coast redneck, so I still like to get around these tracks and do a bunch of oval racing and especially road course racing. I absolutely love it. So tonight, we're doing Indy cars, open wheels. I have a fair amount of experience with this, so this ought to be fun. And it's going to be an absolute blast broadcasting this race with you tonight, Daniel.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate you filling in for him. And you're right, can't nobody replace Jake Reeves, but we're going to try our best here tonight. So, had a week off last week as we celebrated Independence Day and the holiday. So, to get everybody caught back up, let's take a look at our points as we head into race number 5 tonight. Regis Clark, winner of the first 2 road course races of the season, sitting there with a 10-point lead over Brandon Evans. Jake Ham in 3rd, Tyler Justice in 4th, and Mike Browning currently rounding out your top 5 in points. You can see the battle between 6th on down to about 14th. Really close between all of them. Only 6 points between 8 different drivers there. So a lot up for grabs here as we head into this race at Sebring this evening. And you know, Ken, you mentioned that you do a lot of road course racing and everything. So I don't think there's a better person to give us our track details and our race details tonight. Tell everybody at home what our drivers are going to be dealing with as they get rolling here this evening.
Well, let's see if I can screw this up. I can tell you one thing. We're here at Sebring, Florida. The track is 3.74 miles in length with an elevation of 115 feet. It has 17 total turns. This is the international layout. There is a shorter version, but we're doing the international 17 turns. And according to this, it says asphalt, but I got news for everybody. It's actually concrete. This is an old airstrip that they've converted to a raceway. I believe they still fly private aircraft out of here and there. But yeah, and I believe this track not too long ago was ground down. They ground down the concrete to kind of make it smoother. But guess what? Here in iRacing, they haven't got that update yet. So we're racing the old concrete, and it's going to be nice and bumpy for these Indy cars to get around here. So it's going to be very entertaining. Now, while I say most of this track is concrete, there is some asphalt sections here and there that connect the runways up, but should be a lot of fun tonight.
Definitely going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to take a quick look at our race analysis here this evening. 30 laps, a little bit shorter race than we've been used to seeing here in the Lincoln Tech IndyCar Series. I'm getting tongue-tied already here this evening. Pit road speed, 45 miles an hour, unlimited tire sets, but as we've seen on the previous road course races, 2 different tire compounds that these drivers are going to be required to use, something we'll touch on throughout the night as that one mandatory tire change. Full fuel in these things, and thank you to McConey Setup Shop for providing the custom setups for us this evening. No iRacing set available for this one, so they stepped up and provided that. We appreciate their support of this series. And we are getting down here near the end of qualifying. About 30 seconds left for these drivers to go out and try to get that fast lap in. And we're going to be handing out our Jam Printing and Promotions Pole Award, one of our great sponsors that we have in this series. Since forming in 2013, Jam has contributed printing and promotional sponsorships to more than 60 local nonprofits, with a primary focus on organizations that assist veterans, women, and children. They've been with Goat Locker since the very beginning. Local and veteran certified. When they do well, they do good in the community, and we certainly appreciate them as one of those founding sponsors that's been here since the very beginning with Goat Locker.
Absolutely.
And as we wrap up the end of qualifying here, it's like we're going to have a bit of a new name up near the top of the leaderboard. Driver that we haven't seen up there yet this season, winning that Jam Printing and Promotions Pole Award. The number 13 of Nathan Graham, going to be starting on pole this evening, putting down a fast lap here, and just a little bit of a surprise to me, honestly. I haven't seen him run a whole lot this season, but looks like we've got some challengers up there for Regis Clark and Brian Provo and some of these guys that have been putting down the fast laps. It'll be interesting to see what he can do as we go throughout this race tonight. But with that being said, let's take a look at our grid for this evening. And starting on pole, as we mentioned, Nathan Graham. Jake Ellingson going to be starting in P2 alongside him this evening. Regis Clark coming up in third position on the grid, winner of the first 2 road course races. Brian Provo starting in fourth. Brandon Evans will be rolling off in P5 tonight with Tyler Justice beside him in sixth.
In seventh place, we got Eddie Smith in that 87 machine. That's going to be an interesting machine we're going to talk about tonight because of his color scheme. And then we got Brock Price on his outside there. Starting in ninth, we got Devin Smith in the 24 machine, while we got Brian Frogheiger in the 03. In the 11th starting spot, we've got, oh my goodness, Matias Esquel Marco Mini. I'll leave it there. In the 777 car, if that wasn't hard enough. I didn't even see his name during practice, but he's on the grid in 11th place, and in 12th will be Kevin Price. Starting at 13th will be Jamie Lipke, and on his outside will be Ricky Sisk Jr. Words are hard tonight. And rounding out the field will be Jason Kristen in the 82 machine.
And special shout out to Jason Kristen. He was having a little bit of fun in our YouTube chat earlier, saying no broadcaster curse tonight. Y'all recall back to Road America, I think I jinxed about everybody in the field. So speaking of broadcaster curses, I'm going to put you on the spot here tonight, Ken. I didn't run this by you in pre-race, but I'm curious. Who is your pick tonight? Maybe not necessarily to win, but who's somebody you want to keep an eye on as we go through the evening tonight?
Well, I'm going to pick my buddy Brian Provo because I spent all last season racing him in the GT3 series. He's a strong, clean race car driver, and I haven't seen him race open wheel before, but he had some pretty quick lap times. He's only 2/10 off qualifying from getting on the pole, so I think that would be my pick, would be Brian.
Yeah, I jinxed him 2 weeks in a row at Road America and at Milwaukee, so I'm glad you picked him so I wasn't able to.
Oh, I'm a good luck charm.
I'm going to keep an eye on Tyler Justice in that 33. He's had some bad luck here. He's had some early race incidents in a lot of the races so far this season in the IndyCar series. So, you know what? If he has a bad night tonight, he could blame it on me. I'll give him that out clause so that way he has, and we'll say he's got an excuse in case it happens again here tonight.
So during the grade up phase there, we were talking about the setup, the Marconi setup. So I did some testing with this setup, and it's an interesting set. So, I'm used to with these open wheel cars having a heavy amount of downforce and being able to really throw it into the high speed corners. But this is a kind of a nice balance between light on the downforce and then some good mechanical grip. So these guys should have a lot of fun with this setup, but they also got to be very careful, especially as they go over the bumps like Sunset and turn 7.
Definitely something to keep an eye on tonight, and you're definitely more versed in it than I am. Turned a lot more laps at this place, so we're going to trust your expert opinion on that tonight as far
Oh,
as
don't
what
trust
these
me for
guys are
nothing.
up against. But as they go around here, we got a little bit of time, as it is a full pace lap to start off. So just want to take a moment to thank our series sponsor, Lincoln Tech, for their support of the IndyCar series and Goat Locker in general. They've supported a lot of our series and do a lot of work over here. Lincoln Tech's mission is to provide superior education and training to our students for in-demand careers in a supportive, accessible learning environment, transforming students' lives and adding value to their communities. They are one of the largest automotive technology schools in the nation with 23 campuses, and they are the title sponsor of the Spring Series and a very large partner of Goat Locker Racing. We definitely appreciate their support and thank them for being on board here with us.
So we're rounding corner 16, which is the last corner before Sunset Bend, before they take the green flag. So nerves are starting to set in right now. They're trying to get the tires warmed up. Everybody's on. Looks like we've got everybody's almost on the hot tires. We've got 2 drivers on the cooler tires. Devin Smith, who's our current leader, a pole sitter, or no, I got that backwards. Sorry, Nathan Graham. So Devin Smith is on those old tires. He's back in 9th, and Jason Kristen, it looks like, is on the cool tires. So they're going for the long run right away.
Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. It's going to be close if it's a 1-stop or a 2-stop race tonight. Going to have a lot of strategy to talk about throughout the evening. But as for right now, pace car is getting ready to make that turn onto pit road, coming down the front straightaway. Barney's got the green flag in the air, and we are racing here at Sebring as these drivers head 2 by 2 down into turn 1.
Yeah, very clean as our leader, Nathan Graham, gets into turn 1, right up against that wall. Second place, Jacob Ellingson almost gets it off in the dirt, but saves it. Oh, we got a car way back in the back, gets a little off track there, but he saves it. Everybody's clean and green so far.
Yeah, it looked like that was Brock Price a little bit farther back in the 43 car that got a little bit wide out of turn 1, but was able to get it wrangled in. Everybody continues on. Nathan Graham out to the early lead here over Jake Ellingson. Regis Clark in 3rd, Brian Provo in 4th right now. Everybody single file until you get back to, so it looks like Brian Provo was trying to make a move on Regis Clark. A little side-by-side action here.
Man, they're messing with my pick right now. Brian Provo under all kinds of pressure right now as that 39 car of Brandon Evans trying to get around him on the outside, but Brian's saying not yet. And there goes side by side again through the S's here, trying to get it done. And you see Brian Provo comes out ahead there.
Yeah, just a really good battle between those two. And Brian's been impressive. He's been fast every race that he's run. Hasn't necessarily had the results to show for it. And Brandon Evans has just been continually getting better each week. He's kind of talked about it in his interviews post-race. Just continually learning these cars, leaning on some of his teammates that have raced him a little bit more. So it'd be interesting to see how he can adapt and get this thing done here this evening.
Yeah, I've not seen Brandon on the road courses before. I've raced him in the ovals, and he's a pretty good oval racer, but I haven't seen him here on the road course. So, he's out there and running top 5 right now, so we'll see what he's got by the end of this thing. As they go through Sunset here, so this turn here is really bumpy. These guys actually have to lift a little bit in certain places for the bumps. It's a very difficult place with this setup combination here. So everybody getting through nice and clean.
You can see Eddie Smith falling in line there behind Tyler Justice, trying to put a little bit of pressure on him in that tied ride. And those familiar orange and white colors. Looked like Eddie had a little bit of a lockup there. Lost a little bit of time, but he kind of starting to come under fire a little bit himself here. Devin Smith behind him.
Yeah, we were talking about Eddie Smith during the pre-race, and Eddie Smith has got a Pontiac logo on that open wheel car there. And what do you think that means there, Daniel?
That's a good question. I think he's angling for some Pontiacs to get added onto this
he,
thing on the
yeah,
NASCAR side.
he's running a car that's obsolete at this point, seeing if he could get it up to the front. But no, I think he's got the old Ricky Craven paint job he's trying to show off there.
Yeah, Eddie always runs those Tide colors no matter where he goes. And currently running P7, and that is Mark Amidi behind him in P8. And I'm going to go ahead and apologize to him if I got his last name wrong. Try to put a little bit of pressure on Eddie in that 87 car, driving that 777 behind him. And, somebody that ran at Daytona, but haven't really seen him a whole lot after that this season. So another one of those, I don't want to say new names, but, it's a returning face just to see how he can slot in here and if he can get up there and get himself a solid finish this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm back here looking at a couple of different drivers here. As the camera just changed, I got a little confused here. So as I catch up here, we were talking about Eddie Smith, and I was actually looking at Devin Smith. Just behind Eddie, but it looks like that battle has cleaned itself up.
Yeah, and Regis Clark here in P3 that we're following along with now, trying to put a little bit of pressure on Jake Ellingson, and Regis has been damn near unstoppable on these road courses so far this season. He went out and, he just flat out took the field to the woodshed at Daytona. Started on pole. I think he led just about every lap. He ended up winning at Road America also in a really tight battle with Jake Ham, was able to withstand everything that Jake Ham threw at him there those last few laps, just put on a really fantastic show. So looks like he's starting to close in just a bit, and it looks like Jake might actually be starting to gain on the 13 of Nathan Graham a little bit here as well as we start to get a little bit farther into this tire run.
Yeah, and they're all on those stickies right now, so that tire fall off is going to happen pretty quick too. So that's going to allow some of the guys, well, there's only two guys like Devin Smith I talked about earlier, maybe to start making some gains on this field, as these guys are pulling away with wicked fast lap times. But let's see, what kind of lap times are we running? Don't have that information for me. So they're running 1:47.7 right now. So impressive lap times. As we got some pressure here back for second place. Looks like Regis Clark looking at Jacob Ellingson, but this is going to be a tricky place to do it in Sunset. If he goes to the inside, he's got to be very careful. You can see him dive off into the inside, going into turn 16, Sunset Bend. It looks like he's just going to get that position. Jacob inherits second place, just takes it away.
Yeah, he did a good job driving to the inside there. It looked like Jake might have went a little bit wide in that turn, giving a little bit extra room, but he's putting some pressure on. He might look to cross him back over here in turn one as they go side by side through that turn.
Yeah, couldn't quite get it done. And, I thought he was being really polite, Jacob, that is, Ellingson, by taking that outside line. So Regis didn't have to get on that inside and getting those big bumps with these cars. But that was quite a fight back there going into turn one.
Yeah, those two running side by side has allowed Brian Provo to latch on to the back end of this battle as well and try to put a little bit of pressure on also as we see them going through here. Looks like Brian got a little bit wide there in that turn, but he's going to set up a pretty good run here on Jake Ellingson. See if he can complete the pass. Looking inside, outside.
This is what you call smelling blood. Brian smells the blood. Still looking at Jacob there, trying to find any way he can. I think he's found his rhythm right now. He went deep into the hairpin, and that allowed him to run these guys down. And now I think he's trying to keep the leader from getting away, and he wants to get by Jacob as soon as possible. Putting all kinds of pressure as they head up through Le Mans here.
Yeah, and Regis Clark has just set sail on those two guys as they've continued to battle for third place. Just, not necessarily slowing each other down. It looks like Jake caught a lot of curb there, and I thought that Brian was going to be able to jump to the inside, and I think Jake might just let him go here, realizing that Brian's a little bit faster. Instead of holding them both up, just going to be smart and try to let Brian get up there and maybe put some pressure on them top two.
Yeah, exactly. Now that Brian's got him cleared, he can set sail and hunt Regis down. I think. See, now I got to root for Brian because he's my pick, and that's a beautiful gold and black machine he's got there. I can't tell what his sponsor is. I think it's Rolex or something like that, but it's a beautiful shimmering Indy car as we go through the turn 2-3 complex here.
Yeah, and something that I also wanted to touch on that you had mentioned earlier before we started watching this battle you talked about the different tire compounds, and right now most of the field started off the race on those red wall alternate tires. You can kind of see it on the cars as they go by. You can see it on our scoring graphic over here on the left as well. Only Devin Smith and Jason Kristen are on that primary tire. And for everybody that I talked to pre-race, it seemed like once you got to about lap 5 or 6, right about where we're at now, is when you started experiencing that big fall off with those alternate tires. So it's going to be interesting to see if those two that started on the primary can start to make a little headway here, as we've got a battle for position with the 777 and Brandon Evans, and Tyler Justice had actually gotten through for 5th. So this is a battle between 6th, 7th, and 8th now, as Eddie Smith is closing in on this as well.
Yeah, Eddie just got the door shut on him as they come up through Le Mans here. As he's trying to get around Matthias here, going through Le Mans, looking for another opportunity as he rounds the corner here, getting on the straightaway here. Let's see if he's got any speed. It looks like he lost some time there. So he's going to need quite a pull to get back up to Matthias here, and I don't think he's going to get it done.
Yeah, and I think Eddie was really able to close in and take advantage of them two running side by side when the 777 made that pass for position. Keeping pretty good distance with the 39 right now of Brandon Evans in that U.S. Army machine. But, kind of like you say, he just needs to find a little bit more to get around them, but still early here. And, Eddie's a smart racer. He's not going to push before he needs to.
Yeah, he's being really consistent right now. It looks like he's picking his spot. Now he's all over him again. So it looks like Eddie likes these slower corners. When he gets into the faster part of the track is where he seems a little weaker. Gave up a little bit of time there. But, I was going to say about these tires. So in my testing, I think the pit window is going to be about 14 to 15 laps. So it's going to be really interesting in a 30-lap race. As long as everybody can make it to lap 15, they'll only need one stop. But I don't know, these guys are putting some pretty ballistic lap times down, so that could cut into that. They might have to two-stop this thing. We'll have to wait and see. But Eddie's still putting pressure on Regis here as they're coming back up to the track here, looking to the outside. And it looks like Eddie might have him through the inside there. Eddie's got him there. Going through, I'd say that was through Cunningham, but I might have my corners mixed up a little bit.
Yeah, and it looked like Brandon Evans may have actually run off track there as they went side by side through that turn. He lost a lot of time through there. I believe he did get off into the grass, but Eddie able to complete the pass. We'll take a look on the V-Speed instant replay here. See, Eddie got a really good run as they went through here, dives it down to the inside, and I don't think Eddie did anything wrong there. It just looked like Brandon was maybe trying to give him a little bit extra room just to be safe there early on. Maybe had a little view of the onboard here. Yeah, it looks like he may have just got off into the grass just a touch under braking and just pulled him off course as they went through the turn, but able to gather it back up and get going, still hanging on to P8 right now.
No harm, no foul, as we got a car on pit lane, it looks like.
Yeah, that is Tyler Justice in the 33 car. And, you had just mentioned the pit strategy, and these Indy cars have a lot of different fuel maps and engine maps that you can run that'll give you more power. Some are for more fuel saving. So it seems like Tyler Justice is going to be on a two-stop strategy here tonight. And, we'll have to see if he does fuel only here or if he takes tires. And, if he's taking tires and he's doing longer stints, he's going to be able to be on those primary tires for the last two stints here and should have a little bit better long run speed than the rest of these cars.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And yeah, he does have so I'll have to ask you, since I haven't been following the IndyCar series now, are these guys required to use each set of tires, or can they stick with one set of tires the whole race? So like, for example,
So they are, and sorry not to interrupt you, but your pick, Brian Provo, is subject to the broadcaster curse for a third week in a row. We're going to go back and check the replay here as he is missing the entire front wing of his car. You can see Regis Clark up ahead. Looked like he was trying to put a car a lap down, and we'll see what happens here. Didn't quite catch it at first. Oh, whoever that was in front of him just looped it, and just nowhere for Brian to go. Absolutely horrible luck for the 08.
I think that was Brian Frogheiger. So I wanted to say that again for Brian because I always mispronounce his name. Oh, and then Brian gets hit again a second time. So just bad luck for Brian tonight.
Yeah, and it looks like Brian Provo is able to make it all the way back around with that damaged car, albeit a little bit slower. So they do have a fast repair tonight. He's going to be able to get that car fixed. If he wasn't planning on doing a 2-stop before, he definitely is now. So still not out of it to have a good finish tonight, but definitely a setback there for the 0-8.
Well, we're currently looking at Regis Clark now in second place, trying to run down Nathan Graham. That he's got about a 1.5 second gap between the leader there, and Regis Clark. He's our points leader, trying to get up front, seeing what he can do with the new guy. So I think this is Nathan Graham's first race, if I'm not mistaken, Daniel, as we talked about during pre-race. So he is making a name for himself early in Goat Locker racing.
Yeah, definitely making a good first impression here. And just real quick to go back to your question about the tire compounds. So it is something that we've touched on throughout our road course races in this series, that the drivers do have that little bit harder primary tire and the softer red wall alternate tires. So whatever tire they qualify on, they are required to start the race on that same tire compound, and they do have to run both compounds at some point during the race, whether it's you run that compound for 1 lap or you run it for an entire fuel run. As long as you go out and have both tire compounds on at some point, you're satisfying the rule on that. So a little bit of extra strategy that we get here on these road course races with the 2 different tire compounds.
Leader just hit pit lane, so Nathan Graham gives up the lead to Regis Clark as he's going to get tires and fuel on that machine. So it looks like he's going for the 2-stop finish here as well.
Yeah, definitely. All these guys that are pitting now are on that, I would have to think, are on that 2-stop strategy. I don't believe you're going to be able to go 21 laps on fuel tonight, no matter how much you try to save. So, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Ken.
No, I was just going to say, I wonder if that has to do with the compound too, because when I was doing my testing, I was on the primary compound, and I didn't really mess around with this one, so they'll probably go through more fuel on this compound.
Yeah, and I believe that is part of it, even just aside from you're going faster, you're burning more fuel. Just as much as the tires fall off, looking at some of the drivers that are still on the reds, their lap times have fallen off by well over a second so far. So, depending on how much that primary falls off, it may be the faster strategy, even without the fuel equation, to just do that 2-stop.
Yeah, we got a battle back here. Ellingson and oh no, it's Ellingson going by a lap car. So my apologies. I believe that was Brian Frogheiger. I'll get it, Brian.
Yeah, closest battle for position right now is still between Eddie Smith and Brandon Evans. These two have been inseparable rather throughout most of this race. And Brandon just about a 1/2 second back of Eddie, closes in a little bit there under braking, trying to find a way around that 87.
Well, I'm going to have to call Eddie Smith Mr. Brakeman, not because he's good with the brakes, but how he's trying to brake the car on those curbs, because as they rounded turn 16, he was using all those curbs, and I was afraid he's going to lose it as they go into sunset here. He's going to give up that position now. Back to Brandon Evans as they go through the bumps there, holding it together, and give that position back to Brandon Evans.
Good pass for position there from Brandon Evans. Eddie looking to try to close back in, but I think Brandon was a little bit quicker. Going to be able to put a gap on the 87 here now with that free air.
Yeah, and so we are 10 laps into this. So in another 5 laps, if these guys can make it 5 laps, I imagine they're going to be looking at that 1 stop. And being that they haven't come in yet, I kind of think that's what they're eyeing at this point.
Yeah, I would think so too. Well, before we get to that round of green flag pit stops, we've got some bills that we got to pay around here. So we are going to send it to commercial before we get to these green flag stops to thank some of our great sponsors. We will be right back with you here at Sebring on V-Speed.
thriving job market and low cost of living, plus a wide range of veteran benefits, make Indiana the perfect place for veterans of the United States military to call home. InVets can help you find that home. We're an organization started by veterans to help former service members transition to civilian life in our state. InVets can help you find the community with the career opportunities, housing, schools, and amenities that fit your lifestyle. To learn more about InVets, visit us at invets.org today.
Welcome back to Sebring, and thank you again to our sponsors, as you saw there on that quick commercial that we did. Special shout out to Cruisin' Classics, located in Columbus, Ohio. Cruisin' Classics has a beautiful 56,000 square foot showroom filled with hundreds of unique automobiles. There's something for everybody out of their hand-picked selection of muscle cars and hot rods. Come on down to visit the facility today and check out their website at cruisinclassicsinc.com. And I'm not even going to hold the Columbus, Ohio against them with Ohio State being an Oregon fan. I'm still a little salty about that one, but they're a great partner that we've got, so I got nothing but good things to say about them. As we come back and check in on our race, Regis Clark has assumed the lead here at Sebring, still yet to pit. Jake Ellingson running second, and the 777 Marcamini running in third, as we close in on that first round of pit stops for some of these leaders.
Now, speaking of Marco Mini, didn't you see something in the chat? So Marco Mini currently running in third place, and we're currently on his car right now. But I think there was something entertaining in the chat.
Yeah, Rusty Rafferty, and I can only assume that this is what he was talking about when we were talking about our third place driver a little bit earlier, said, I bet that dude is unstoppable at Scrabble. And I'll tell you what, I can't argue with it. I'm not that good at Scrabble myself, which probably don't surprise anybody, but yeah, that's got to net you some points out there on the old board whenever you play that one.
We're going to have to ask our producer how the heck he got that name to fit in that graphic there at the bottom of the screen, because he was complaining about your name. So he shortened your name to Dan from Daniel, but it seems like Mr. Matthias has got the name beat, got you beat.
Yeah, he's got a couple of letters on my entire name, so yeah, we'll have to check with our producer Lucas Lyons after this race and see how come that name fits and mine don't. But anyway, I digress. We're going to get back to the action here on track. So this battle between Brandon Evans and Eddie Smith still going on. Again, those two have just been locked together seemingly all evening. One driver gets a little bit of an edge and the other driver reels him back in. So see if Eddie can find a way around here.
Yeah, they race any closer, those guys are going to need to get a room. So they're putting on a good show tonight, though. About the best battle on the track all night long. Brandon Evans in that Army machine, and back behind him in the Tide machine, keeping things clean.
Yeah, really good run. And two drivers that we've just gotten accustomed to seeing running up near the front of these races. Eddie was in contention for the win there at Indianapolis. Led a bunch of laps when we ran at the Big Oval, the most famous track for these Indy cars. And Brandon Evans it doesn't matter how quiet of a race he's having, just seems like he always finds a way back up towards the front of these things and just seems to get himself some solid finishes. And, I've even seen him over on the 87 side. He's been talking about, I think he's finished second, 4 times so far in that series or something like that, or maybe that's
Yep.
just across
Yeah,
all the summer series. But
he's been trying to get a win and been unsuccessful. And if I have anything to say about it, it will continue. So shout out to Brandon Evans. Try to keep you behind me for the rest of the season. But no, he's a good racer. Oh, he gets sideways there going into Sunset. Eddie's coming on the outside, and those are those bumps I was talking about. These cars don't have a lot of downforce as much as you would think. And if you don't lift perfectly on those bumps, that's exactly what happened to Brandon Evans, and he gives up that spot back to Eddie Smith.
well, I'm gonna tell you what, Ken, that might be about the best time broadcaster curse that I've seen in a while. I mean, I know you were talking about the 87s, but as soon as you said right as soon as you said, not if I have anything to say about it, comes up with a heck of a save there through that final turn. So,
Well, let's
yeah,
see
you'll
if we
have
can
to
let's
get
see
her
if we can
gathered up.
jinx somebody else. So we're coming up on lap 15 of Regis Clark. So Regis Clark still leading this thing after inheriting it from Nathan Graham, who pitted on lap 7, making this a 2-stop. So right now, I expect to see this 8-car of Regis Clark on pit lane. We'll see if he can go at least one more lap, but that will be a 1-stop for everybody else.
And talking about Nathan Graham in that 13 car, he has actually already worked his way back up to P6 and is closing in on the 4th and 5th place cars of Eddie Smith and Brandon Evans. So even with that extra pit stop, with those fresher tires and being on that harder compound that doesn't quite have the fall off, he is putting in some really good laps. And even right now, it looks like he's the fastest car on track. He's turning laps that are almost a full second and a half faster than our leader Regis Clark right now.
Yeah, and Regis Clark just crossed the start-finish line, so he's out for another lap. So he's definitely on a 1-stop try here, as we're currently running with Nathan Graham, trying to get back up front. So he has got 23 seconds behind right now, approximately. So depends on how long these pit stops are. I want to say it's about 20 seconds, 25 seconds with these Indy cars. Don't have a great deal of experience with the pit stops. That's counting driving on pit lane and off, and then of course the stop itself, which is really quick with these cars. But we'll see how much time he's going to make up. Now, the thing that he's got to be concerned with is he's obviously faster than Brandon Evans and probably Eddie Smith. And so how much time is he going to lose waiting for these guys to pit unless he can somehow get around them?
Yeah, and you saw the lap times over there on our scoring pylon. As he goes to the inside of Brandon Evans, I think he's going to make some pretty short work here of that 39 car. But as I say that, he actually gets a little off course there. Wasn't sure if there was contact with the 39, but it looks like he is missing part of that front wing. So some damage for the 13 car, and he gets run into from behind. I believe that was Brock Price under braking there. Going to take another look at this as he had the run on Evans, gets down to his inside and wasn't sure. Yeah, there was definitely contact there that I didn't see initially, and it broke that front wing of the 13 car. So a lot of speed in that machine. If he does pit now, he would be able to make it to the end on one more stop, I would think, to get that damage fixed. But man, that is a big blow to his chances for winning this race tonight with a lot of speed that he had.
Yeah, and Evans didn't do anything wrong there. Evan gave him about all the room he could. He was off in the dirt a little bit there, and he just got wide and took that wing off. So we'll see if he's going to head on to pit lane, as we got cars on pit lane right now.
Yeah, this is going to open the floodgates for those that are on that one-stop strategy. Regis Clark, Jake Ellingson, Brandon Evans, Eddie Smith, and Mark Amini all coming down pit road. So our entire top 5 coming in here. And I believe that the 13 car stayed out on track even with that damage, and he's going to inherit the lead here. So I'm just curious, how long is he going to be able to run with that wing missing? I mean, I know he's got a strategy that he's trying to stick to, but he would still have a few more laps if he's trying to split it even like he did with that first stop at lap 10.
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, with the way the setup is, it doesn't have a great deal of downforce. It's really set up nice where you've got a lot of mechanical grip here, and maybe that's what he's feeling. And he might be looking at how he's timed his fuel usage and where he's at and where he wanted to pit. And so he's like, oh, I just need to go 2 more, so I'll run it with this broken wing and try to get to his pre-planned window.
Yeah, for sure. If he knows that he's not going to be able to make it to the end from here, then going ahead and pitting is going to ruin any chances. Looks like he gets a little off track there again, putting the driver a lap down. But yeah, if he's not able to make it and he would have to two stop from here, that would ruin any chance he's got for even a top 5 at that point.
I am curious if he is going to hit the pit lane this time by, because I don't know how much longer he can stay out there like that. So anyway, Jacob Ellingson still back there. He's back in second after it looks like the cycle of pit stops. So done a really good job here. I'm just checking my relative here.
Yeah, that's Brian Provo directly ahead of him. Your pick for the evening. Nice recovery for him so far, but we do know he will have to make that one additional pit stop as he pitted early with that damage. But so far, a good recovery for that 0.8, and he was turning some of the fastest laps on track even after he made that pit stop. So it gets a little loose out of that last turn.
Are we doing the commentator's curse again? Is that what's going on? Now we're messing up Brian again.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way, don't it? So
you're doing it because I picked him. That's why it's happening. Poor Brian.
I think Brian's going to be tagging both of us in the chat here after this one. Probably tagging every broadcaster that we've got in this league, saying, for the love of all things holy, please do not pick me as your pre-race pick anymore. Just not worth it to to pick him with the way that he's had this luck bite him here recently.
Yeah, well, if he doesn't have bad luck, he doesn't have any luck at all, so, as they would say. So at least he's got some kind of luck going for him. So.
Well, hey, one thing about it, he's getting plenty of airtime with everything that's going on. So there's always that silver lining.
And he's driving a car of gold. So how bad can it be? But anyway, looking back.
As we see over there on our scoring pylon, Regis Clark back in the lead. The 13 of Nathan Graham did come down pit road to make that final, what we assume would be his final pit stop of the night. And running in P6 right now, 15, almost 16 seconds behind the leader. We would have to think that pretty much everybody's done pitting here for the evening, aside for that 0.8, would have to make one more stop. So be curious to see if he can make any more ground to try to get back up there onto a podium position or try to put some pressure on here.
Yeah, it's going to depend on the tire fall off compared to what he's got and what everybody else has got, as we're back on our leader here, Regis Clark. Getting it done tonight. He was one of the fastest guys in practice. We are 14 laps to go currently, and he is just killing it right now. And he's probably breathing a sigh of relief, seeing that his main competition is a little bit further back right now. He's going to have to work his way up. But, there's always that pit in your stomach because, unless he's been watching the broadcast or anything like that, or really knows what's going on, he isn't really sure what that other driver is doing, right? So there's always that little thing in the back of your mind. It's like, okay, he pitted twice. Is his tires going to be that much better? Is he going to be able to run me down?
Yeah, and Regis, I'm sure he's probably aware of like who's on his strategy and who he's racing against. So right now, out of the guys on his strategy, it's really Jake Ellingson is the next one that he's got to look at. So he Brian Provo is still about a second and a half back, turning some pretty fast laps here as we take a look at him in that 0.8 car. We've been talking about him off and on throughout the evening, taking a look at our lap times over there. He's in that 1 minute 44 second bracket, and actually the only driver on track right now that is running laps in that time frame. So despite the bad luck earlier and having that damage and the extra pit stop, he's still putting together some really good lap times out there. And since he was your pick for the evening, why don't we go on board with Brian Provo? We're really going to put this commentator curse to the test here.
Oh yeah, we're going to do it for Brian here as we go into sunset. This is the final turn as we come onto the front straightaway here at Sebring. Really bouncy right here. You have to be really careful. So now he's trying to set up for where he's going to break into turn one. So turn one is one of the funnest corners of this track. He's going to try to get it to the left-hand wall as close as possible, pick up the throttle as early as possible without going over, clips it just perfect as you go through turns two, which is just a kink, and then 3, 4, 5 complex here is getting down to second gear and just winding the car back and forth as we go on to the Big Bend straightaway here. getting set up for the hairpin, which is turn number 7 as we're coming up here. And he's going to do some hard braking, let that downforce do the work initially. Hard on the brakes here, get it down to first gear. Going to do this hard right-hand turn. Gets it done easy on the gas, back up to speed, back up through the gears as we run through Fangio here. Turns 8 and 9. Headed up to turn 10, which is a little tricky here. If you're not on the brakes really good here, you could actually lock up a wheel and actually spin yourself out. Gets through here really nice as it goes through Collier. Headed towards Tower, or otherwise known as Cunningham, as Daniel would like to say. And we're making this sharp right-hander. Does good not to get it into the dirt over there as we head towards, one of the most famous tracks, Le Mans. The Le Mans corners, which is a series of S's. And you're slowly working it down through the gears, back down to about third gear here. Making the turn 16 here without going over, without spinning the tires, as he sets up for the long straightaway here as we go into Sunset Bend. And the reason they call this Sunset Bend is because the sun is in your face in the evening right here. So anyway, we end up into Sunset Bend here, braking at about the 2-cone here, really hard. Not to get too far inside. The bumps will really unsettle this car. As you can see, it gets a little sideways there, jerking the wheel back on the front stretch, and there is a lap at Sebring.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ken, I don't know what was more important, or more impressive rather. The fact that Brian pulled back a half a second on Regis Clark while we were riding on board, or the fact that you can remember the name of every single one of those turns.
Hey, and I did that all in the 30-minute time frame we had pre-race.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's why we got you up here, because you are the resident road course ringer, and that's probably why I usually end up in the grass more than the pavement at road courses.
I am no ringer, but I appreciate the compliment, though. I do enjoy road course racing as we watch Brian Provo all up in the grill or all in the back, transmission of that Indy car right now as he's looking for a way around. Now, of course, Brian Provo is going to have to make an additional stop, we believe. So I think he just wants to make up as much time as he can. So he wants to get around the leader and start making some time up because he's got another pit stop ahead of him.
Yeah, Brian currently 12 laps in on this stint. So definitely going to need another stop before the end of this thing. Going to be a little bit outside of that pit window. As you can see, the last lap that everybody on track pitted over on your left-hand side on the scoring pylon. But, for the tire advantage that Regis Clark has over Brian Provo, it is really impressive that he's been able to run Regis down and turn these competitive lap times. And it speaks volumes to how good Brian Provo has been, despite not necessarily having the results to show for it.
Yeah, and now you know why I picked him as he dives to the inside here at Sunset, and he's going to get that position given to him. I think Regis recognized he's much faster and probably needs to make that extra stop. So why hold him up and just let him go and let him run his own race. But you don't want Brian to get too far ahead of you because he can make a pretty quick pit stop.
Yeah, exactly. And, even though Regis isn't necessarily racing him for position with that different strategy that they're on, you let him get too far out ahead there, he might be able to put some pressure back on at the end as Regis starting to make a little bit of inroads back in towards that 08 car. He's definitely not letting him get away here.
Yeah, Brian got a little loose there on the entry of that corner, so that kind of slipped him up a little bit, allowed Regis to get back to him. But I think as soon as Brian could get those tires cooled back down a little bit, I think Brian will start checking out up until he has to make that pit stop anyway, which could come at any moment as we got 10 to go.
Yeah, and Brian was actually on the push to pass there a little bit down that last straightaway, just using it to play a little defense to keep Regis Clark behind him. As you can see how much push to pass these drivers have left. Everybody starts off with 200 seconds of that push to pass to use. Brian Provo has used more of it than anybody else in the field tonight as he's fought his way back through. Jake Ellingson sitting there in third. He ain't even touched it yet. Neither is Brandon Evans, Eddie Smith, Devin Smith. The Prices, they ain't touched it either. So, something that they've got in their tool belt to use a little bit later on here if they need to try to make some ground up.
We haven't talked a lot about the 27 of Jacob Ellingson. Ellingson is actually only 4.5 seconds back, and he was up to like 6 or 7 seconds back of the leader early in this race in the first 10 laps or so. So he has made up some time. Like you said, he has all his push to pass left. So it'll be interesting. Jake Ellingson is running a really quiet, consistent, clean race tonight. So, and that's also something that's very impressive. Oh, we got Brian Provo on pit lane. He's going to do his final stop. But anyway, back to Ellingson. Just a real quiet, clean race tonight. We haven't talked a lot about him, so I figured I'd bring it to your attention.
Yeah, and after back-to-back home races for him in the state of Wisconsin with Road America and Milwaukee, he had some bad luck at both of those. So I'm sure he's happy just to get a solid result out here tonight and try to bring it home in one piece.
Well, I'm going back to Brian Provo. He's exiting pit lane as we speak right now. I want to see where he falls in the line here. As I'm waiting for my timing and scoring to come up, it looks like I want to say he's back to 7th. Yeah, so he's back there in the 7th position. So he's got some ground to make up.
Yeah, definitely some ground to make up for that 0-8. Top 5 not out of the equation. Probably not going to be able to make it up to the leaders, though. But be interesting to see what he can do with the rest of this evening. But, folks, real quick, we still got some partners that we'd like to thank and some bills to pay around here. You're not going to miss a thing, though. We're going to go side by side with this last commercial so you can still see all the action out on track. And we will be right back full screen here with you momentarily on V-Speed.
Superior quality, ultimate protection, and the highest level of craftsmanship. We make our gloves for the hard worker that wakes up every morning and gives 110%. You deserve the highest quality protective gear that's going to work for you, day in, day out. We know it can be tough deciding what companies to trust for your hard-earned money. It's all in our name. We've mastered our craft to help you master yours. We make our gloves rugged, durable, and designed for you. Whatever the job is, we have you covered. We are your glove station.
A thriving job market and low cost of living, plus a wide range of veteran benefits, make Indiana the perfect place for veterans of the United States military to call home. InVets can help you find that home. We're an organization started by veterans to help former service members transition to civilian life in our state. InVets can help you find the community with the career opportunities, housing, schools, and amenities that fit your lifestyle. To learn more about InVets, visit us at invets.org today.
Well, welcome back to Sebring, and thank you to our sponsors that help keep this thing running. Special thank you to InVets. InVets aids in transitioning to civilian life, focusing on job placement and finding the right community for veterans and their families to ensure their success and happiness. They're a veteran nonprofit in Indiana with the goal of bringing veterans to that state to live and work, and they're the title sponsor of our Sunday Truck Series. And folks, you saw it on the side-by-side while we were under that commercial. We have a battle for the lead brewing here. Regis Clark hanging on to it, but Jake Ellingson is right on the rear wing of that 8 car. He has tracked him down, and he is looking to make a move for first place here.
So, yeah, that wasn't the commentator's curse. We were talking about Jacob Ellingson prior to going to that commercial break, how well he was doing tonight, keeping it nice and clean. But Regis Clark feeling all kinds of pressure right now. It looks like Jacob Ellingson is just, he's got the speed where it counts and just looking for a hole to get by Regis right now.
When Jake really hard on the brakes there, he almost got into the back of Regis Clark, was able to gather it in, but he loses a little bit of time in that process. You see those lap times over on the left. They are both running really consistent laps within a tenth of a second of each other, and this battle is not going away anytime soon. Regis Clark, or I'm sorry, I was looking at those times wrong. Ellingson was actually a second faster, almost full second faster than Regis that last lap. Um, but we were talking about that push to pass. Jake still has the full 200 seconds to use at his disposal. Regis doesn't quite have that full amount to use, so something else to keep an eye on here as we get down to the end of this and get inside of 5 laps to go here at Sebring.
Yeah, I'm not sure Jacob really even needs that. He's so much faster, it looks like, than Regis Clark right now. I'm not sure where he found all this speed, but I guess he got, we are, 24 laps into this, so it took him 24 laps to find all this speed, but he is putting all kinds of pressure on Regis right now, our current points leader. Jacob Ellingson right now, he's 12th in points, so he must be, he comes in here and makes cameo appearances. I think he's one of our admins for Goat Locker Racing. Putting on a heck of a show right now, him and Regis Clark. This is going to be a fun battle as well as we get down to the final couple of laps here.
Yeah, for sure. And Jake, I believe he's ran every race this season. He's just been snake bit with some bad luck and being in the wrong place at the wrong time and just getting caught up in incidents. So, good to see him up here running second, having a shot at this win. And, if there's one thing that we learned from the Road America race with Regis Clark winning and holding off Jake Ham in that one, this is not going to be an easy pass. No matter if Jake Ellingson is faster or what that speed difference is, Regis is really good at just holding his composure. He showed that at Road America and just doing what he needs to do to maintain that position. Jake's got his work cut out for him to find a way around that 8 car.
Yeah, and he's coming up on some lap traffic there of Brock Price, I believe it is. Just got around him, I think it is. And so he's doing really good. And I also wonder if he's maybe managing the tires right now. Somebody doesn't get first place in points by throwing away races, so he might know what he's got, and he might be saying, I'll go ahead and let Jacob run me down, and then I'll put on the heat when he catches me. We'll see. Oh, and Jacob gets a little sideways. He's lost a bunch of time there. He probably lost over a second as they were going through that complex as they go through the Big Bend right now, but lost a ton of time coming down in the hairpin now.
Yeah, it's really hard with these cars, just as aero sensitive as they can be. McCody did a really good job with the setup and building it to be really balanced, like you had mentioned, between that mechanical and aero grip. But the aero still matters, and these things do get a little bit twitchy when you're tucked up behind someone like that. So Jake gonna have to get his tires cooled back down a little bit here and try to make another run at it.
Yeah, I wonder, maybe I spoke too soon about the commentator's curse that we've been speaking about a lot tonight for some reason, because it seems like we've been doing it a lot, and then every time we do, somebody almost has a problem. Anyway, we got a battle further back, Evans, Provo, and Smith. Duking it out here for that top 5 spot. Brian Provo has it, and Evan wants it. So we'll see if Evan's got the pull, but I think Brian, he's got those new tires. He's on that strategy. He's just pulling away right now. Evan Smith is just trying to hold off Eddie Smith at this point.
Yeah, and I believe Brian Provo actually had made the pass around both Brandon Evans and Eddie Smith to get back up into that top 5. So really the battle right now is between Brandon Evans and Eddie Smith for that 6th position, as looks like Brian's starting to pull away from this battle a little bit here. We talked about how fast he's been throughout the evening. And again, the 39 and the 87 right in each other's tire tracks, as they have been for the majority of this race this evening.
Pretty much the whole race. So yeah, these guys just can't let go of each other. So it's been entertaining. I got to thank him for keeping it close. Another car I kind of want to talk about really quick is Nathan Graham. As we see Brian Provo, he just got around to that car there. But anyway, Nathan Graham got himself back up to 4th after losing that wing with the incident with Brian Evans. So he's got himself almost back up to a podium, but he's got another 3 seconds to catch up to Matias Marcamino, the Scrabble champion, I should say, because I don't know how to say his name. So anyway, we'll let the Scrabble champion see if he can hold on to that podium finish, see if we're going to be talking to him tonight, or Nathan Graham.
Yeah, you mentioned that gap between the two, just under 3 seconds, but Nathan Graham's been running almost a second a lap faster, so with 4 laps to go, he's got the time to get there. It's going to be really close. As you can see our lap times over there on the left, he was 8/10 faster than Marcamini on that last lap, so he could definitely pull it off, but it's going to take a bit of an effort to get there.
Well, him and Brian Provo got the freshest tires, so Brian Provo's 10 seconds back behind Nathan Graham, so I don't think Brian's going to catch Nathan, but definitely Nathan has Matthias in his eyesight right now and going to try to run him down, try to get on that podium, so and try to prevent the Scrabble champion from taking that podium spot away.
Yeah, and our battle for the lead is actually starting to tighten back up again. Jake Ellingson getting closer to the back wing of that 8 car of Regis Clark. He had fallen back by a little over a second and a half, and he's got it back down to a half second. As you can see, not sure if Regis Clark maybe had a little bit of an issue or something on that previous lap or what may have happened, but Jake was able to pull in a pretty good gap on Regis the lap before.
Yeah, and he closes in on the hairpin there, very heavy on the brake. So Jacob Ellingson just getting right up to the back there, starting to lose a little bit of time. He was up on the curbs. He's using every bit of that car right now. And as you said, if he's got his full 200 seconds of push to pass, he's got that still in the bank here, as the next time by we'll have 2 to go. But trying to put pressure on Regis Clark, seeing what he can do, going to the outside, going to the inside. Looking here, see if he's got anything here. Oh, he gets a little loose, and that's going to slow him down right there. So he'll have to cool those tires back down and make another shot at it.
Yeah, and you can kind of see it when they go through some of those slower turns, even as they go through like these turns here. You can see all those marbles and all that dirt and debris off the racing line. Just makes it so hard if you try to get offline to get a little bit of a run. You get the tires a little bit dirty. It's easy to slip a tire and lose time like you saw out of the 27 there.
Well, it's nothing like having the best race on track right now being for the win, right? So we got the first and second place guys going at it right now. Jacob Ellingson, as they go through Sunset Bend, back on the straightaway here for 2 to go. 2 laps to go. Who will it be? Regis Clark or Jacob Ellingson? Or will they both fail? Will they both wall it up into the wall and allow somebody like Matthias, the Scrabble champion, to take this race, or even Nathan Graham further back if these 2 guys collect each other? But I think they've been racing really clean. It's just a matter of Jacob trying to find a clean way around, but these guys seem pretty equal at the moment.
Yeah, and it seems like Regis is doing a really good job with his utilization of the push to pass to keep that gap about a half second or so on the straightaways, where Jake's not in that zone where he can kind of try to outbrake him into the turn, just keeping him just far enough out of reach that he doesn't have to worry about the dive bomb. As you can see, the push to pass remaining, Jake has barely touched his. If I'm his spotter or I'm his crew chief, I'm getting on the horn and telling him to use it. You can't take it with you when you leave the track. You got 188 seconds to burn over this last lap and a half. Push that button, see if you can make something happen as he closes right in on the back bumper of Regis Clark. It's the closest we've really seen him for a little while. See if he can make a move in that next heavy braking zone.
Yeah, and they go into Le Mans, these S's right here, and this is where actually Jacob's been a little weak here, so we'll see if he can hold the back end of Regis Clark here, and he does a pretty good job here. He's going to have a little bit of air to sniff, and you can see Regis goes to the inside, back to the outside, trying to shake that draft. I'm sure push to pass is being used right now as they get ready to go into Sunset, looking towards the inside, nothing doing, thought smarter of it. 1 more lap to go, going around the corner. Oh, he gets into the back end. Regis goes around. Jacob Ellingson takes the lead. Oh my goodness. Last lap, white flag is out.
1 to go here at Sebring, and Jake Ellingson put the move on Regis Clark and got into him just enough to send him around. He's got the lead now.
I don't know if that's called putting the move. That's called putting the tire on or whatever you want. No, those 2 guys were just basically racing for the same spot. Just got a little tap there. Got him loose in Sunset. And, tough break for Regis. He's currently sitting in 4th right now.
Yeah, that drops him out of a podium position. Still a strong run on the night, but I don't necessarily know that Jake did anything wrong with that move, but man, I can't imagine that Regis is happy behind the wheel of that 8 car right now.
Another battle further back in the pack is Eddie Smith and Brandon Evans still going at it. Somehow Eddie Smith got around Brandon Evans. Brandon Evans looking for a way by. Can't quite get it done right now. So Brandon Evans, as they head, I want to say this is, I can't even tell where I'm at on the track. This is near Cunningham Shorter. Of course it's Cunningham because we got Daniel Cunningham.
Brandon Evans hard on the brakes there. You can see it starting to step out a little bit on him, and he's going to look to the inside of Eddie Smith. Makes the pass for position, but this battle is not over yet. Eddie's going to try to cross him over here. Not quite able to make it stick, and Brandon Evans clears for that position.
Back up front, we are with Jacob Ellingson going into the final corner on the final lap. Sunset Bend. Will it hold together through these bumps? He took the lead in this very corner. He had a quiet night up until the last lap, and he takes the win here on at Sebring.
Jake Ellingson bringing it home in first tonight. Second place finisher, Mateus Marcamini. Looks like Nathan Graham going to bring it home in third. And can't tell who that was over in the final turn. I believe that was Eddie Smith and Brandon Evans. This is some Talladega Nights maneuvers here. Both cars absolutely destroyed. Eddie keeps his foot in it and gets it back to the line ahead of Brandon Evans. Both of the drivers crossing the line with a meatball. We're going to have to go back and take another look at this right quick.
Well,
going through that final turn.
This is Ellingson corner right now. This is where Ellingson. Oh, they both go into the wall. What the heck?
They didn't even make contact. Just both drivers just absolutely send it in there. We're going right on board with Eddie Smith here in that tide ride. Just to take a quick look at this as our drivers finish up their last lap here tonight. And I think Eddie just decided I'm going full send into this last turn, and Brandon said I ain't letting him do it.
Yeah, they both went full. They both went full send. It was almost like, I don't know. I think one of them said, "I'm going to be more special than you. I'm going to do it. I'm a special kind of driver."
I'm going to tell you what, that is one of the best battles for six back to the line. As you can see Eddie's car, wheel hanging off, side pod hanging off. That thing is absolutely cooked, but he gets it back across the line in sixth. And what a finish.
What an awesome finish. Jacob Ellingson taking his victory lap here. What a race. After he started in second, quiet up most of the night until the last 10 laps, he turned on the heat and was able to make that last lap pass or that last lap push or whatever you want to call it. He's going to take home that victory. So Marco Mini finishes second. Nathan Graham wraps out your top three. So I imagine we will be taking a commercial break. Oh, we're going to watch our winners celebrate here, and then we'll go to commercial break, and we'll come back with our official standings.
Yeah, Jake Ellingson going to burn it down here on the front straightaway after securing the win, a short-lived burnout. So, folks, we're going to go ahead and take our last commercial break of the night, and we are going to come back to recap all the action and talk to our top three finishers. We will be back here with you on V-Speed.
Superior quality, ultimate protection, and the highest level of craftsmanship. We make our gloves for the hard worker that wakes up every morning and gives 110%. You deserve the highest quality protective gear that's going to work for you, day in, day out. We know it can be tough deciding what companies to trust for your hard-earned money. It's all in our name. We've mastered our craft to help you master yours. We make our gloves rugged, durable, and designed for you. Whatever the job is, we have you covered. We are your glove station.
A thriving job market and low cost of living, plus a wide range of veteran benefits, make Indiana the perfect place for veterans of the United States military to call home. InVets can help you find that home. We're an organization started by veterans to help former service members transition to civilian life in our state. InVets can help you find the community with the career opportunities, housing, schools, and amenities that fit your lifestyle. To learn more about InVets, visit us at invets.org today.
Well, race fans, welcome back here to Sebring as we wrap up the action for tonight in what was a wild last couple of laps and a bit of, I don't want to say a surprise winner, but a bit of a surprise with how it happened. And we're going to take a look at our final finishing order this evening here for our race results. Jake Ellingson coming home with the win. The 777 of Mark Amini coming home in second. Nathan Graham coming home third. Regis Clark, after that last lap tangle, coming home fourth. Brian Provo in fifth. Eddie Smith and Brandon Evans with one of the best final corners that I have ever seen on a road course, bringing it home sixth and seventh. Tyler Justice in eighth. Devin Smith in ninth. Kevin Price rounding out our top 10 this evening.
Yeah, in 11th, we got Brock Price finishing after starting in 8th. Jamie Lipke finishes 12th. Kirsten finishes 13th. Brian Frauheiger finishes in 14th. And J.R. Sisk wraps out your top 15 for tonight. What a race. That was pretty awesome there, Daniel. Why don't we bring up our race winner and see what he has to say about it?
Yeah, that was a wild couple of laps there at the end. See if we can get our race winner, Jake Ellingson, up here. Jake, this is Daniel up in the broadcast booth along with Ken. You got a copy on us?
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
Well, man, it's going pretty good. You put on one heck of a show there with Regis Clark at the end of this race. And, we saw that contact there coming to the white flag. Just, if you could, just talk us through those last few laps, what was going through your mind as you tried to chase him down, knowing how good he's been on road courses this season.
Man, apologize to Regis. That's not how. Um, I honestly don't have much experience with, the IndyCar and road course stuff. So, and passing's a little bit foreign to me, as you can tell. But I was trying to get underneath him, and when I went to go, went to power up a little bit too much, and it's that way. But as everybody always says, a win's a win. But it is what it is.
Yeah, that was it was quite a show. So you weren't on my bingo card tonight. When you started this race, talk me through it. Was your plan to do it a single stop, and what were you thinking when you seen some of the other drivers try to make it a 2-stop?
My plan the entire time, make practice I was doing earlier, I could make it. So that was the intent, a single stop and place where I place. I wasn't planning on placing as well as I did, but you know,
So, Jacob, you're breaking up quite a bit tonight, and we're sitting here filling in the blanks for what you're saying. But I will say that you had a fan out there in chat saying, please asking the commentators not to talk about you too much because we might jinx you. But you were able to be unjinxed, so congratulations on that win.
probably she tunes not racing. She tunes in and watches to mom for watching those, and then for sponsors and stuff, definitely got to thank Lincoln Tech for always being on board, for putting their name on this number 27, for being a supporter of GLR, and then Department of Veterans Affairs for hopping on board and giving us that grant for the second year in a row. Can't think. And then last but not wife and my beautiful daughters for allowing me to have time to come out and spend with you guys.
All right. Well, that was our race winner, Jake Ellingson, even through a little bit of mic issues that we had there. Bringing home the win tonight, and I can confirm that was his mom there in the chat saying that we were we were cursing him earlier with that broadcaster jinx. So glad that we were able to avoid that on him tonight. But we've got another finisher, not seeing our other two finishers on the podium. So in place of that, let's do something a little bit different tonight. Let's bring up one of the drivers that made that last lap, that last corner so entertaining. And we've got Eddie Smith down in the waiting room standing by. We just got to talk to him after that move that he made there this evening. So, Eddie, this is Daniel and Ken up in the booth. You got us, brother?
What up?
Well, I'm going to tell you what, man. That was one hell of a last corner between you two. We were talking about it on the broadcast. You came across the line with the with the car tore apart. You had a side pod hanging off. You had a tire hanging off. What was that last lap like between you and Brandon Evans battling for that position?
Well, the owner, he sent a message in through the radio, and he said, "Hey, I don't want to see that car come back unless you get 7th place." And so I just did what the owner wanted. And they say if you're not good enough to win, at least get on TV. And so for Todd, that's what we did tonight. It was hilarious. We giggled about it. Me and Brandon were in chat together. We had a blast. Me and him were very similar in speed, and so I realized real quickly that it was just going to be me and him. Everybody else that was faster was way up there. I don't know Sebring that well. I felt really underprepared when I saw the qualifying time, so I just knew that just need to finish it. And just as the race went on, me and Brandon kind of felt like we were going to race it out. About halfway through, I said, "Brandon, I think we're going to race it out." And sure enough, like at the end there, it was just like playing, I don't know. It was going back and forth. Neither one of us could tell how much push to pass we had, how much fuel if we were going to make it, all that kind of stuff. So we were just kind of playing a cat and mouse game. And there at the end, it was just sending it, trying to get that position.
So, Eddie, this is Ken up here in the booth. So I got to say, you both get the Jerry Award of the day. So congrats for that 7th place finish. What a way to end that show. But I got to tell you, so Daniel and I were watching you and Brandon go at it the whole race. And other than that last lap travesty that you made to get that 7th place finish, it was a lot of fun watching you and Brandon just trade positions all night long.
Yeah, I'm just lucky that that Todd and Chevrolet or Honda, no, Dallara,
Pontiac,
built a good
Pontiac. Hold on. Since you mentioned that, You know, you got a Pontiac logo on there, right?
Okay, well, Pontiac GM from the past put in a pretty good transmission that when we both hit the wall, both of us were hammered down. It wasn't going. I kept trying to shift, and somehow I got it to shift up into fifth and sixth. And I don't know, I don't know if you saw it on the broadcast, but my right rear is just burning, just laying down rubber as I was trying to get past him, and it held it held on long enough to get around him. So yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolute blast.
Well, appreciate you jumping up here, Eddie, and thanks for being a good sport with the with the last lap there and giving us something to talk about. So before we let you go, anybody you want to shout out other than the team owner that told you not to bring it back in one piece?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody at Goat Locker. Thank y'all for doing an incredible job here in the IndyCar Series. Got to thank Lincoln Tech, of course. Congratulations to Jake Reeves and Alexander Sexhauer, the new Semrig recipient winner. They both had kids this week, so congratulations to them. Can't wait to see Alex back on the track and Jake back in the booth. But yeah, I got to thank all those sponsors that make it happen. Save 22, and then of course Pat and Jamie for all that they do. And congratulations to Jake Ellingson getting the win.
Right. Well, that was Eddie Smith, our sixth place finisher. I couldn't tell which one it was there. I think I've seen both so far.
Oh,
so
yeah, he's finished sixth. I kept on saying seventh because you told me seventh. But no, he's in sixth. You're right.
yeah, well, I'm not sure how that might have played out because he had a meatball there as we finished. But yeah, showing him in sixth here for the official running order. But man, Ken, that was a blast to call that race. A lot of close action out there on the track. Before we talk about what's coming down the pike here as we finish out this summer series, what's your final thoughts on this race here this evening that we just saw?
Oh, heck of a race. You know, I've not witnessed an open wheel race with Goat Locker yet. Haven't raced with Goat Locker in an open wheel race. This was absolutely, I've watched it all season. It seems like this season, the guys that have been running these Indy cars have been having an absolute blast, and it's been a lot of fun watching the races, watching you and Jake call these races, and it's been a privilege to come in here and call this race here at Sebring, which is one of my favorite tracks. It's so historic racing at this track. Watching these guys get around this track, very clean. You know, I expected to see more spins in Sunset Bend than I did. So it shows that I needed some more practice even with my testing there because I was getting a few spins there. And these guys held on to it really nicely. Jacob Ellingson showed that he had speed. I mean, he started in second. You would think, well, maybe, you know, first place isn't such a big deal, but it really is because he didn't look that strong all night. It wasn't till the last 5 laps or so that he really came on as like, holy crap, where did this guy come from? And he came in, took the win. You know, he felt bad about getting into Regis like that, but sometimes that happens, and at least it wasn't intentional. And those guys will probably make up, and we'll see some more good racing from those two again in the future.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, one thing about it, every week so far this season, these drivers have not disappointed. 5 weeks in, no matter whether it's a road course, intermediate oval, short track, no matter what it's been, these guys have just put on one heck of a show week after week. And let's take a look at where we're going to be at as we round out the rest of this season. Next week, we are headed to the Tricky Triangle, the 3, 5, 6 turn, no matter, you know, depending on how you look at it. We're going to be at Pocono next week, July 16th, bringing you the action right here on V-Speed, same time as always. And this is one that I've been looking forward to for a while. I think it's going to be a lot like Indianapolis. The long straightaways, draft is going to come into play. It's going to be a blast, and we're going to start rounding out this season. Just 2 more races after that. We go to Long Beach on the street course and Nashville Super Speedway to finish out the season. Just epic racing week after week. I can't say enough about these drivers and how they have just raised the bar every single week in this series.
Yeah, and Pocono, I'll be excited to see that. Hopefully Jake will be back next week. He has a child, so congratulations, Jake, again. Hopefully he'll be back next week. Not really sure, but Yeah, Pocono is one of my favorite tracks when it comes to ovals. It races like Indy. You can take your Indy setup to Pocono and vice versa. These cars ought to be a absolute hoot to watch. It's going to be like watching another Indy race with a little bit steeper banking. So, yeah, it should be a lot of fun here next week.
Yeah, for sure. And folks, that's going to do it for us tonight here in the Lincoln Tech IndyCar Series. It's been an absolute pleasure bringing you all the action here on V-Speed. Looking forward to wrapping up the rest of this season. And again, congratulations to Jake Reeves and his family on the new addition. And for Patrick Drabick, Jamie Barkus, and everyone at Goat Locker Racing, for Adam Baker and Bradley Cooper at V-Speed, our wonderful producer Lucas Lyons, and thank you again, Ken, for stepping up and stepping into the booth this evening. My name's Daniel Cunningham, saying thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Be safe, be fast, and whatever you do, just just make sure that you turn in next week and catch all the action as we head to the Tricky Triangle.
Good night, everybody.